That damn hat thing, that was gorgeous.
Hello Fashion! Hey, we're here in my office. We're gonna talk about all things fashion, but today I thought we'd start with Selena's album art. This is one of the last shoots I did. Selena and I have worked together since 2014. What goes down, the way it works as Selena's stylist is that I get a text from her manager and he says, we're gonna shoot album art in New York on this day. You avail? And then I say, yes. And then I text Selena and say, hey babe, what do you want to wear? What do you want to look like? Any ideas? And sometimes she says, nope, whatever you want. And sometimes she sends me a picture, or sometimes she writes a paragraph. You know, throughout our time together, Selena and I have done sort of romantic, sexy, glamorous. We've done performance looks. So this was a really different project. It was really exciting. I think also we all had so much creativity. We were dying to get out after being away from each other for so long. And this was a really new look for her. We were talking a lot about Latin culture. The album is in Spanish. Immediately you think of the colors of Mexico City. You think of Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera. So as a stylist, the first thing that I did after talking to Selena was call the photographer. This amazing woman, Camila, who had done a bunch of shoots that I really admired on Instagram, and I was super excited to hear her ideas and take on it. She came back with this incredible mood board, which had like color combinations that really excited me, and an incredibly fresh and modern take on something that can be sort of cliche, but we wanted to get to the root of what those images make you feel. And a lot of that is the color interaction. So we talked a lot about like a really pure Yves Klein blue and a strong red. All right, so let's talk about the dresses. The scale of this dress is obviously the most exciting thing about it. The top of the dress is just a strapless draped bodice. It's couture, so you can see all the workmanship in here. The entire thing is hand draped and hand tacked. It's shaped at the bodice and around the waist. It's a really short little mini dress. And then it has these really voluminous red bows applied around the whole dress. And then there's a train, sort of miles and miles of couture silk. And there's a transparent layer and then the heavier layer. When we actually used this in the shoot, we wanted Selena to have this really, really epic proportion. We wanted her to be this hero, larger than life, iconic figure. We had her stand on a bunch of boxes. We kept building the boxes up and the dress came all the way to the floor, and her proportion is grand and taller and more radiant than it should be. We really wanted the red to sort of drape from the front. So in fact, in the photo shoot, I took the train and draped it around the front. We didn't want it to be too sexy. We wanted it to be quite serious and also a refined image. And I think if you saw her legs, that's all you would have looked at. It communicates something different. In this, you see this beautiful, beautiful bit of skin and the décolleté and her face framed by her little hair. I wanted it to look sculptural and for the silhouette to be long. The grand scale of this train, it just kind of goes on and on and on. It's really beautiful and amazing. I think we should call Giambattista and talk about the dress. Hi. I wanted to know if there was any inspiration behind it, anything that made you design that dress.
Actually, it was about Parisian haute couture. It's something that really belongs to Paris. So there was this kind of passionate, mostly in the red one. It's this kind of very, how can I say, classical but modern on the volumes. Ideas of what it's like Parisian haute couture. So it was this kind of red, very flamboyant, almost like a lipstick red, and this kind of extreme volumes, because I always love like on extreme.
I feel like it's been years now that you've been doing these really huge gowns.
Yeah, it's something that I'm obsessed. But I think it's my signature, and I think it's very important to be known for a silhouette more than a logo. So I love the idea to have something that everybody recognizes from far.
Thank you so much. Pier Paolo at Valentino is the color master of our time, in my opinion. There's no better colorist The gloves that went with this dress are like a pale mint green. And the idea of a very, very pale mint green next to this like Yves Klein blue, tension between the colors is really satisfying to me. This is all hand embroidered sequin paillettes that are a shiny, clear cobalt blue over a nude mesh. Now there's a horsehair in the bottom to keep the volume. And you can see that even when I try and move it, it won't flow fluidly because it's quite stiff at the bottom, which is what gives it this incredible shape. So here you see the tulle layer with the horsehair, and then there's another horsehair under this embroidered layer. And in the body, it's actually slightly transparent through the body. You see that it's a little longer in the back. It's draped beautifully. It has this simple hidden zip. In France, to design what you call couture, you have to be certified by the government. All the fabrics have to come from couture-approved mills. All the beading has to be done by couture-certified artisans. Every piece is made by hand from start to finish. Nothing is machine-made, nothing is machine-finished. And if you want to buy the dress, it is made for you, specifically for your body only. It's sort of the opposite of what most of us wear, which is something that you can just buy off the rack. These two garments were both made by people who have years and years of education and apprenticeship to get the skills to make them. Although it appears just like quite flat, there are seams throughout. They're sewn by hand with tiny little needles. Even the sequins, if you look, each one, it's 2 stitches, and the whole dress is covered in them. It's a mermaid, so basically it's a few panels. Kind of gives the impression of a godet in the back, but it's not. It's like a full circle. Look at it sparkle actually through the back. It's fantastic. Often these dresses will have an interior zip and an exterior zip because there's a bodice, there's a black transparent layer, and then there's the very, very fine layer of beading on top. And inside you can see that there are darts to shape the body, and then there's a grosgrain at the waist. Okay, she's back on. And there you have it. And then we kind of got to the headdress and we're like, So Orlando Pita and I had a conversation. He's the hairdresser who worked on this, and we both decided it was beyond our ability. So I called my friend Laurel, who has a company called Dead Flowers, and she has a very bizarre color sense. We asked her if she would be able to make the headpiece. Hi, nice to see you.
I decided to go with artificial silk peonies because we knew they would hold up better. You would get more movement. You can make them look as real as you need to. I'm always drawn to weird, unusual colors. I like the weird oranges and the stuff that's a little more natural. When you mix it with that ribbon, that was the one. It was this weird pink terracotta, but with the color of the peonies, it was so perfect. It just really brought out the pinks and the oranges in them and made them look a lot less artificial.
Have you always had this interest in color?
I'm slightly colorblind, so when I see colors that are very similar to each other, they sort of all have the same cast to them.
That's fascinating. Oh, I like that. That's maybe part of your brilliance.
I think it's part of something. I see things a little bit differently.
Thank you so much. So here's the hat. It's from Harris Reed's final collection from fashion school. And it's made quite a sensation. It went with a look that is a black jacket and like a pink and white ball gown sort of tucked into pants that Harry Styles wore in Vogue. This hat seemed like a perfect foil for what we were trying to create. I love that it creates this like frame and magnifies the person. And it does remind me of Catholic saint paintings, illuminated manuscript vibes, which is fantastic. What the circular hat does is make you look at her face. You see that face, and that's the light that comes out of the image. And so the hat was the key. I feel like I have talked about this hat for too long. Let's call Harris. Hi! Would you tell us a little bit about that look, the look that was in Vogue on Harry Styles, and what inspired you?
Definitely. So doing this kind of huge hat, I wanted it to feel like it was so fluid, opulence at its finest, going down into the rest of the outfit. And it was very much this idea that a lot of times people think fluidity is very much like half male, half female, which isn't true. It's about a spectrum, really putting, gender and gender expression at the forefront with whoever the wearer might be. And that was super important for me with that look.
It changed everything. It made her come so much forward, which is, I think, what you were talking about.
Well, I was honored and I'm super excited. And yeah, let's see what happens in the future.
I'm excited for your next collection.
Thank you.
Big kiss. Thank you.
Big kiss. Bye.
Bye. While referencing art and ideas that we've all seen before, this had to feel like Selena and not like something you've seen before. Things are complex in this time, but I think a lot of what came out in the shoot actually came from that. We probably spent more time on this than we normally would. We did a number of Zooms. We really talked about it beforehand. We knew exactly what we were doing and what we were trying to achieve.
With this, it was an opportunity to go pretty fun and pretty crazy with the colors and stuff. So, and then that damn hat thing that was gorgeous, but it was so heavy that it just it was so heavy that it kept just kind of like again. But it was just so much fun. Literally, probably my favorite shot from the entire thing.
Really?
Yeah, it really is, because it was so beautiful, and the thing that was popping out the most were my lips and the flower because of the color. I feel like I view myself as someone who can be extremely feminine and delicate, but at the same time, have a little bit
You're
of
a powerhouse.
Yeah. So I think that's why I love that photo so much, is because it embodies so much of like who I am, I think.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for watching. I will be back every week with a new episode. If you have any questions or topics you'd like to hear me talk about, or dresses you'd like to see, please leave it in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, like, follow, ring the bell. See you next week.